Hey everyone, welcome back to Garnock Reviews, where today we're checking out a 2001 Ocean Alexander 456 Classico. At the time of shooting this video, the boat was up for sale for $227,500 and she was lying in Jacksonville, Florida. This is one of Mark Zeigler Yacht Sales' latest listings, and she's a perfect liveaboard cruiser that's also capable of doing the great loop. When I do these videos, I always try and get that first impression, and one of the ones that stood out with this yacht is it feels extremely safe whenever you're walking around the boat. There's so many handholds and guardrails to hold on to. Obviously it's easy in a day like this tied up in the marina, but you can definitely see that this will be safe and secure even while the boat's underway. I also like the fact that there's very minimum teak on this one, and that way it keeps the maintenance low. You see we've got davits mounted over the stern. We also have deck wash options back here too. And then if you are looking at doing liveaboard cruising and extended cruising, you're going to love the lazarette that's back here. This is literally walk-in, and it just gives you a ton of storage options. So down here we've got things like engine spares, cleaning equipment, a great place to store the fenders when the boat's underway. You've got hoses that you can use for the deck wash. We've got the ropes hanging up, so they're accessible but they're also out of the way. And this yacht's even equipped with a spare anchor and chain. And of course from back here you also have clear access to all the stern gear for any servicing and maintenance it may require. And then back on deck, I love how easy it is to access a bathing platform on the stern. You can use this for boarding on a pontoon like here, but you can also use this if you're boarding a tender, or if you want to do some fishing, swimming, diving, snorkeling, things like that. So make our way around. I like the fact that all the windows have got coverings on them. Not only does that protect all the woodwork and furnishings in the inside, but it also gives you extra privacy too. We've got easy access to both the port and starboard side on the deck from the helm. This is particularly beneficial for single-handed operation. And then on the bow, the way that the coach roof is designed, you could easily sit out here, relax in an evening, relax while it's cruising. And then of course on the bow we do have the electric windlass. And this is an 88-pound anchor with approximately 150 feet of chain. And then as I pan round, you'll see that spotlight, but you'll also see that fully enclosed flybridge we'll take a look at in a second. And you'll step up over the aft cabin. I like the fact that throughout this yacht there's a non-slip deck. I was barefoot and the yacht was wet, and not once did I feel like my feet were going to slide. Again, for more storage, we get this huge West Marine storage box, and I like the fact that this one's also lockable. You can put a padlock on here and keep everything safe and secure. We then also have this built-in outdoor electric grill. And my first thought is, imagine grilling out any fish that you catch. You can't get any fresher than that. And there is additional storage underneath. And then I mentioned the great loop at the start of this video. Although this one does have a relatively tall mast, it is on hinges. And that enclosed flybridge, that can also easily be dropped down. So within, say, 30 minutes, this one could easily be made to fit under that famous bridge in Chicago and make sure that you can keep the Great Loop Passage going. And I personally love the layout in this flybridge. It's fully enclosed, but it does have the option where you can roll up those isinglass windows, but you can also remove the panels altogether and then just have like a bimini top, and then of course you can also retract that further and be totally open air if you wanted. This is where the owner has been using it for cruising, so you get plenty of comfortable seating, but this is also where you're going to find the main electronics. So even though this is all undercover, I wanted to highlight the fact that the owner keeps the seats undercover, it keeps the console undercover, and they've also got that cockpit table undercover, just so you get that extra level of protection and care. I like the fact that this entire flybridge bulkhead is pretty much all storage accessible from both sides. This perspex section would be great for paper charts and documentation, but keeping it weatherproof. We got a Garmin. This is a 1040XS multifunction display. You get the standard Horizon VHF radio, and this has got AIS built into it as well. You got full engine instrumentation. You got a Furuno fish finder. You got a Raymarine multifunction display, and this is tied into a 64-mile radar. You got the Simrad autopilot, controls for the searchlight, and then this is a Raymarine wind speed and direction, which is really beneficial for close quarter manoeuvring. And then not sure if you can make this out, but it's roughly 4,500 engine hours. And then the owners keep a Yeti cooler up here for your refreshments. And I love the seating up here. You can have plenty of people join you, but you can also use this to lay down and relax. And then as you'll see underneath the seat, it's all storage, which the owners have been using for safety apparatus like your life jackets. And I also like that those standalone chairs, you could take that down to the aft deck. Even more so if you wanted to do a spot of fishing. So if we head inside, as I mentioned before, I like the fact that there's door access on both the port and starboard side from the lower helm. I love the woodwork that's in this one. I love the soft furnishings. I like how much you've got natural light coming through, and that's even with the window covers on. And there's fantastic headroom in here. I'm 6'2", and throughout the entire time on board I never had any issues with headroom. So I like the fact this one does have a lower helm. Not all boats have that, but you can tell that this one's been designed to be cruising from up top. You do, however, have that Marine multifunction display, and again that's tied into that 64mm radar. You got your compass, you got your autopilot, and you got your VHF radio. And then up top you got your full engine instrumentation as well. And this one's got a clever design for the navigation station. There's a little area behind the helm, which is clearly used for charts, but it's got a swivel seat underneath, so you can sit down at the chart table, but you can also swivel it round and sit down at the helm. And I also liked it, although you've got very comfortable seating here in the saloon, that would also double up as a great watch berth if you were doing some sort of overnight passage making. And then we do have a Philips TV, and this is connected to, it's got a KVH satellite. And as well as a multimedia entertainment. I loved all the documentation that is in here. You got all sorts of logbooks, service records, operator manuals. It's always great whenever you can take the boat's history with you. And then over towards the galley, we've got more storage over here. And I like these push buttons that you have throughout the entire yacht. That way you don't need to worry about the doors opening when the boat's underway. And again, you'll see in here we've got even more documentation for all the different applications on board. And then the galley's just a few short steps down. It's got a handhold in place for that. And then you've got a ton of headroom down here. You've got great countertop space, which is ideal, especially if you're into things like your George Foreman or your air fryers. There's plenty of storage in here for all your cups, plates, dry goods, things like that. And if you are doing cooking on board, I like the fact that the window overhead opens, that way you get plenty of ventilation. You've got a large, this is a sharp convection microwave oven. And below that you've got a 3-burner ceramic top electric stove. And if you are looking at using this as a liveaboard or extended time on board, you're going to really appreciate having a full height fridge freezer as well. And then this yacht has got 2 staterooms on board. On the bow is where you're going to find the guest stateroom. And I personally like the fact that this one's got a proper double berth, it's not a V berth with an infill. You've got access at the forward section to the anchor locker. There's also storage underneath this bed. You've got an opening hatch overhead, and you've also got the portholes on the side, so you get plenty of natural light and ventilation. It's got a section that's been designed to have a small TV, but I personally I'd put a laptop in there. You've got a hanging locker space, and note the little vent on top of it, and that way everything just stays where it can air out, and you don't have that musty damp smell you sometimes have on boats. And then this stateroom is fully en suite, and I like the fact that the toilet and the shower are separate, always gives you more room to use either. And the toilet is a vacuum flush toilet, and it's probably a good time to point out this boat comes with 250 gallons of fresh water, and it's also got a 40-gallon holding tank capacity. It's also a 550-gallon fuel tank, but we'll get to the engines in a second. So this yacht measures just over 45 feet in length, but she's got a beam of just under 16 feet, and you really notice that whenever you get to the owner's stateroom in the aft cabin. I like how there's this little handle overhead for getting down into the aft cabin. It just gives you that extra stability. You'll find you've got this large centerline island berth, which is accessible from either side. There's a ton of natural light in here, and most of those windows and hatches open for extra ventilation. We've got a vanity station here, but this can also double up as a desk, but there is actually storage behind that mirror as well. And speaking of storage, there is a ton of it. And in these hanging lockers, again, they've got these ventilated doors, that way everything stays fresh. And the doors latch securely, so you don't have to worry about anything opening and falling out while the boat's underway. Now in this one you'll see they've got more of a tools storage in here, and there's a reason for that we'll get to in a second. Because this yacht's got a secret trick up its sleeve. And if I close the doors to the aft cabin, you'll see in here we've actually got a washer dryer built in. Again, it's for extended liveaboard cruising. Keep all those clothes fresh, but also fresh towels, fresh linens, without being in a hurry to rush back to dock. And I just love how this yacht has got storage everywhere, every corner, every way that you can make something into a storage cabinet, drawer, locker, whatever. They've just made great use of the space throughout. I also like the quality of the materials on this yacht. Every time I open any of the doors or anything like that, everything just feels solid and well built. It's designed to last. And as you'd expect, this stateroom is fully en suite. And again, the toilet and the shower are separate. And there's plenty of room in here that you could easily use that shower, whether you're at anchor or if you're in the marina. Now, I mentioned this yacht does have a party trick, and that is if you lift up the stairs that they use to access the aft cabin, that actually leads into the engine room. Now, there are multiple access points to the engine room, but this is a great way if you need to get to the back of the engine room, especially if you're looking at the prop shafts, things like that. And you'll notice this is a very clean and dry engine room. I never saw any signs of any leaks from oil, from coolant or anything like that. And I like that the engine's easily accessible for your day-to-day checks, but if you noticed, almost all the flooring in the saloon, they've all got access panels that can be removed. So if you're doing your bigger projects, if you're doing your annual maintenance, if you're doing any repairs or upgrades, you've got plenty of light, you've got plenty of headroom, and it's so accessible. That's going to reduce the time that it takes, which reducing time reduces rates, so it's more cost effective as well. As to the engines, this is a pair of twin Cummins 220 horse turbocharged diesel engines, and at 9 knots you've got a range of somewhere in the region of 1,000 hours. And then we also have the Northern Lights 8 kilowatt diesel generator on board too. All the batteries were replaced this year. You've also got the cruise air conditioning and a 20-gallon hot water heater. I'd like to thank Mark again for the opportunity to come on board, check this one out and share it with you. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments. If you can leave a comment down below. If you haven't done so already, if you can hit that like and subscribe button, it really makes a difference. I look forward to catching you on the next one. Thanks everyone.